My name is Max. I'm an instructor at Youth Code Jam, and for today's Python basics video, we are going to look at variables. So in the last video, we talked about using Replit. You can sign up for a free Replit account at replit.com. If you do so, please make sure that you have the permission of one of your adults before you sign up for anything on the internet. But once you do, go ahead and get logged in. This is the second video, so you might want to go back and watch the first one if you haven't. But this one, we're going to be looking at variables. So open a new Python project in Replit, and you can title it something like Intro to Python 2 Variables or whatever you want. So let's look at how we create a variable. So variables are something that we can use to store information, and we can create one. They have names, so we can create one by just giving it a name. So let's call our first variable my string, and then we give it a value. So we can use the =, or the assignment operator to give our string, my string, a value of go Spurs go. Cool. And then, so what happens if we run this? Well, we're still putting that information inside of our myString variable, but we're not telling the console to print anything out. So next, let's print, and then instead of putting go Spurs go, our go Spurs go string in here, we can go into the myString variable and grab whatever value's in there. So we can type in my string. And now if we print, you can see we have go Spurs go in our console. Pretty cool. So you can use the names of your variables elsewhere in your program. Let's try making a short print statement where we mix variables and just strings right now. So let's make a variable called player and give it a value of Patty Mills. Okay, so now whenever we say player in our program, right now the computer will grab the string Patty Mills and replace the word player with Patty Mills. Let's do the same thing with jersey number. And you'll notice I've done this in two different ways. So variable names cannot have spaces in them. So we need to find a way to separate words. One way is camel casing, like I did on line 1 here. This is where you capitalize every word that's not the first word. And then on line 5, I've just used an underscore instead of a space. So we'll give jersey number a value of the number 8. And then let's print a sentence that uses both of these. So we'll start out with player. And then we need to do one thing to separate this, which is its own value, and whatever we want to put in between these two variables. So if we say player, where's the number? And then we need to separate again with a comma. And now we can put in 8. Or we don't need to put an 8 there, right? Because we can just use the jersey number. And this is really handy when sometimes this can change. So you can use this print statement for different, if you change the player and the jersey number, those will change depending when we print this out. So let's print this out, and we can see Patty Mills wears the number 8. And that's true. Awesome. So we have to use the commas here to separate the different values in our print statement. So I mentioned this is useful for changing the when you need to change the variable, what's in the variables. So let's look at actually changing the variables. So the first way you can do this is just by reassigning a new value. So let's make Jersey and give it a new value of 24. And if we print that, then we should see where we say Jersey number here on line 6, we should see it say 8. And then because we change on line 8 what is stored in Jersey number, then it should print the new value from line 9. And there we go. If I run it, we can see that it's the same variable, but first it stored 8 and next it stored 24. Okay, so another way that you can change the values in variables is by performing math operations. So let's make a new variable and call it points. And let's give a points a value of 99. And then we can print points. But what if we want to just add 1 to whatever is in points? So like when you score a basket and your points go up. So what we can do here is we will say the name of our variable, so points, and then give it a new value of the previous value of points, which is also stored in points, and then add 1. And all you have to do is use the addition operator and the number 1 here. So what you can do then, remember we have to print it. So print points. And you can see we had 99 and then we added 1 and it's now 100. So there is a simpler way of doing this. There's what's called the shorthand. So we could do points, we could print next. Let's do points plus equals 1. So this is the shorthand. So if we do this and we print points again, we should see now 101, which is what it should be, because this did the same thing as line 14 and line 17. They do the same thing. This is just a shorter way of writing that. You could also do minus equals 1, and then it'll subtract. So that's just a shorter way of always adding or subtracting. And there are other operations that you can also use. If we look at some mathematical operations, one thing I want to point out is that right here we have points on both sides. So what's happening here is it's doing this mathematical operation and then putting it in the bucket of points. So it's kind of going from right to left, which I know is a little bit weird. But it'll do this first and then it'll put it in points. So you don't have to, though, use the same variable on both sides of this, on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of this assignment operator. You can assign a new variable the same value that's in an old variable, and then also perform mathematical operations. So let's check out one of those. So career high points, and I'm going to camel case this one and give career high points a value of points times 2. Let's do it like this. So points times 2, and then let's print career high points. And we should see then we get a 202 here because 101 times 2 is 202. Now, I use the asterisk for multiplication. That may be a little bit different than what you do in math class, but this is the symbol we use as our multiplication operator. And if you were going to divide, you'd use the /. So we could see then it's 50.5, but then my variable name wouldn't make very much sense. And it's good to make variable names that make a lot of sense. Okay, actually, even though this doesn't make sense, let's look at points divided by 2. And then let's consider that this has to be a whole number. And we're getting, because you can't have a half of a point. So a way that we can convert this into an integer is by using the int function. So if I type int and then open parenthesis, and then don't forget to close it here at the end, and then run, now what happens is I have 50. So this rounded down in order to make something that wasn't an integer an integer. Okay, so now that we've gotten a little practice in storing variables, changing what's stored in the variables a little bit, what I want you to do is print out a story and then take some of the words out and replace them with variables. So for example, let's write just our print statement first. How about today I went to a Spurs game. I got to meet the coyote. Okay, so I'm not going to write a whole story here, but I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to choose one word in this first sentence, probably Spurs, and I'm going to replace this with a variable. So first what I'll do is create my variable, and I'll say I need something to describe what that is. So I'll do team, and then I'll assign team the word that I want to go there, Spurs. And you can replace these later on with some wackier words. But the first time I'm just gonna do whatever word was in there. Then don't forget that we need to put our variable in here, and we also need to separate the values. So we'll need an end quote and a beginning quote for our two new strings because we split it in half. And now we can put a comma, and then we'll put the name team here. And then we need another comma to say, hey, the next thing is a new value. And then what we could do in the next sentence is maybe replace the word coyote. So I'll do mascot, and I'll do the coyote. Don't forget the quotes for this to make it a string. So I got to meet, and then what I can do here is I will separate this value, and then I'll put my mascot in here. And now if I run it, you can see that the story prints out. Today I went to a Spurs game. I got to meet the coyote. And I could change these to anything that I wanted to. You can make them wacky if you want. But make a story, make it longer, and hopefully I get to see what you make. Awesome. We'll do another one of these videos, so be on the lookout.